Ladies and gentlemen, we are live back with another relaxed retro talk. I am Dukey03.
And I am DGonline. Happy Sunday or happy insert day.
Sunday or Wednesday. If you're watching it live, it's probably Sunday. If you're watching it on YouTube, it's probably Wednesday.
Probably.
Today we're talking about a couple different things and a couple different angles on things. The first being, we struggled to come up with a name for it, but we ended up coming up with video game misconceptions.
That's right.
Basically, a couple different angles. When you first see a trailer, kind of what you think in your mind, what you kind of create of what the game is going to be, and then it's almost never accurate. We're gonna talk about some of those, and then we're gonna talk about there's been so many like ads where like it's like a little misleading, or what you took from the ad is completely off, and stuff like that, like trailers and stuff like that. So that's gonna be the main topic. And then I've finally got around to watching all 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, so we're gonna talk a little bit about that as well.
So good. So good. I'm excited.
Yeah.
You're excited.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So I guess let's start by talking about just video game misconceptions. The biggest one I know, like most people, and Mike was bringing it up, was that Metal Gear Solid 2, when the trailer thing first came out, everyone was expecting more Solid Snake because it's Metal Gear. I mean, before this point there had been 3 Metal Gear games. You got Metal Gear 2, and Metal Gear Solid, and you had all these trailers, even the demo. I remember the demo came out, and it was the tanker mission.
There he is.
Yeah, and it's all Snake.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And the advertisement is all Solid Snake too. It's like dun 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 Snake.
And he's like jumping off that bridge with the camo camo cloak thing on. Dude, I love that game. But anyways, people were pissed when that game came out because fucking all of a sudden, like, you're Snake for like a third or maybe a quarter of the game.
Not long.
And then you're Raiden for the rest of it. And everybody hated Raiden.
They're not happy about that.
Yeah, people
decision.
are pissed about Raiden. I personally love Raiden and Snake, but people were so mad. Like, there's people that still to this day hate Metal Gear Solid 2 because it had Raiden for most of it instead of Snake.
And I think that people wouldn't hate Raiden so much if it wasn't the old bait and switch.
The old switcheroo.
You have to think. Because who puts out Metal Gear Solid? Is it Konami?
Yeah,
it's Konami. So you have to think Konami was like, we really can't advertise this game if it doesn't have Solid Snake in it. We need Solid Snake in this game to sell the game, right?
Yeah.
And then so that's why they focused all that effort on it. But I think if they wouldn't have done the old bait and switch like that, it probably wouldn't have been as bad. And just to set the stage, we're not saying the game is bad.
Yeah, we're not saying any of these games are bad. I mean, maybe some are, but
maybe the games end up being bad. But the idea is that when they gave you the advertisement, they said, "Hey, new Metal Gear Solid game. Check out Solid Snake." And then you put that game into your PS2, and it was like, "All right, Solid Snake. Okay, see you guys.
Yeah,
you can hang out with Raiden now."
Yeah. To be fair, like, the tanker mission is pretty long. If you don't know what you're doing, if you're playing it for the first time, it's probably like 6 or 7 hours, maybe. If you don't know what you're doing, right? But when I play through it, it's like 30 minutes, like 30 minutes to an hour because I played that game so much. And then you switch to Raiden, and it's like, now you're at the game. You're at the real game, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
But it's the other thing is like you said, would it have sold as well if they advertised Metal Gear Solid 2 and all the gameplay was about Raiden and no Solid Snake? I don't think it would have done so well. I think people would have been mad before the game even came out at that point.
I agree. Yeah, I think at this point, because I mean, when you get Metal Gear Solid 3, then 4, at that point they can take those risks, and the fan base is going to be behind it, right? But I mean, if you think about back in was that 2001?
Yeah, it was
right.
You had 01 or 02. Yeah,
you had original Metal Gear Solid that was a huge success.
Mm-hmm.
So the follow up, also a huge success. But to change the character is a big That's a pretty big decision to
Yeah,
make.
that's a big swerve. I think what would have worked best is there's that you could have had the scene with Snake jumping off the bridge. You could have had some of the tanker mission shown in there, and then do that scene when Raiden's coming up the elevator at the beginning of the big shell, and he's got a scuba mask on, so you can't see his face. And on the thing, on the like nano whatever call thing, codec call, they're referring to him as Snake as his code name. And then they're like talking about Snake, and then he's going up the elevator, and there's this big cinematic like 360 camera pan, and then he takes the mask off. If they would have ended the trailer with that, I think people would have been on board with
so
Raiden, because they'd have been like, "What? That's not Snake. Who is this guy?" And then they would have wanted to play it. I think that's the best way they could have really gone with that.
Yeah, it was not an ideal choice. That's for sure.
Yeah. They could have went worse, but they definitely could have done that a lot better, I think.
100%. Yes, absolutely. The it's funny because that brings me to another massive PS1 title.
Yeah,
and that's Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, the PS1 games were really bad for this, because all you
bad.
had was cutscene footage like all
That's
the time.
Right. So the Final Fantasy VII commercial was all CGI. It was CGI clips from all of the different cutscenes. If you opened up a magazine, in there was either the Meteor logo of Final Fantasy VII, or the city of Midgar, or something in those cases.
That Shinra Tower lookup scene thing.
That's right. You put that game into your PS1, you fire it up. There you go, the opening CGI plays.
Yeah, they still have you.
You're like, all right, here we go. And then you get to the train yard, and out hops Cloud with his horse hoof hands.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a second. What just happened?
This isn't what I signed
Where's
up
his
for.
fingers, right?
Yeah. It's like those action figures where they have that tiny little hole you have to like fucking break the sword to put it into. That's what his hand looks like.
That's exactly it. And so that was another one. And I mean, I get it. Like those ads sold the game.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But how many people do you think put that thing into their PS1 and was like, really?
The fuck is this?
What happened?
Yeah.
They burned up all the power on the cutscenes, and the fact that the game even comes in on the cutscene keeps you kind of amped up here, and then it just craters from that point.
But pretty much all PS1 games that had cutscenes,
it was the same.
All their trailers are pretty much the same. I think the first one I saw without that was Final Fantasy Tactics, but it didn't really have much for cutscenes. I think there was only an intro and an exit. And I remember the trailer for that being like the map would twist quick, and then there's like the summon coming, like it'd be like the summons and the spells and like all these characters dying and stuff. So that one really sold the game well for what it was, but a lot of the PS1 games were like literally just cutscenes.
Resident Evil, Parasite Eve. We were talking earlier about Chrono Cross.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All of these games, all of these PS1 games that had those cutscenes, and then you transition from, because the cutscenes were, look, for PS1, those cutscenes were beautiful. Yeah,
especially once they got to like Final Fantasy VIII, like those cutscenes were fucking great.
Absolutely. And then it's such a harsh change from cutscene back into the game. There's no smooth transition. It's like you're watching a movie and then you turn on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, pretty much. Final Fantasy VII was weird because it had like 3 different variations of the characters, right? You had your world map / in-town variation of what they looked like, which was like the little puppets. And then you had the battle, which was probably... I don't know if the battle might even look better than the cutscenes, like the characters.
The battle ones not better than the cutscenes. The battle ones in the OG PS1 version didn't have any facial features. They were still just eyes.
Oh, I'm thinking of like the PS4 and the PC remake.
When they did the remakes, they kind of fixed a lot of that stuff. But I mean, to think about the original games, they didn't have that. And then when you go into the cutscenes, right, you've got full facial features.
Yeah. They still kind of have like their heads look like Lego men, kind of, right? Like skin colored Lego men.
and they still kind of move kind of jaggedy,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, all things considered, for 1997,
Oh,
there was nothing else
absolutely.
like it, right?
Yeah.
Like there was nothing else like it out there.
Yeah, when it came to like
at the
3D.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's almost unforgivable that they didn't show any gameplay, and that was normal then, though.
Yeah.
Now you see gameplay.
Yeah,
right?
sometimes,
Now
but sometimes you do just get people complain all the time at E3. If they're seeing
right.
just cutscenes in the trailer, people are gonna complain right away.
We're trained to be that way now, right? We're trained to be like, hold on a second, this is all cutscenes.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, but I mean, like the gameplay's gonna be similar. No, not until I see the not until I see the gameplay. I'm not on board.
Actually, while we're on Final Fantasy VII, another bait and switch really is the game was built up, even in magazine ads and everything, was built up and as these like freedom fighters versus Shinra. But pretty much as soon as you leave Midgar, it's not really about that anymore.
Shinra's gone.
Yeah.
Shinra's mostly, well, not gone. Mostly
they're
gone.
there. They're
not,
more of a background kind of character. Like they're there all the time, but they're not the main focus of the game at all.
I mean, they are, depending if you're playing the remake or not.
Yeah, fuck that.
No, it is very much that is the case. You are the Avalanche freedom fighters, save the planet people, and the second you leave Midgar, it's like, wait a second, what happened to the freedom fighter thing?
Yeah,
that's just gone now.
It's
now
speckled in over the when you get into the characters' backgrounds, because that's the one thing that unites all of them. Really, is that freedom fighter save the planet thing, but it kind of disappears after you leave Midgar.
It's not a focal point anymore.
No. One trailer the trailer that really sold me and got me into the franchise was the Final Fantasy VIII trailer. There was I used to watch Dragon Ball. It was early mornings on Fox Rochester. I think it was like one of the few American channels we got. And Dragon Ball would come on super early in the morning. And there would always be, I think there was like a video game store in Rochester. And this freaking ad would play. And the Final Fantasy VIII, it was that cutscene where the Squall and Cypher have that gunblade fight. And then like he slices up. And like all those feathers go, and then it like cuts to so it's like
intro.
Yeah, but then it was different than the intro. It had like different scenes in there than the intro did, and so it was like the Galbadians on the ropes invading Blam Garden, and I was like, holy shit! Like this game looks fucking amazing. So that and one of my classmates at the time who was always talking about Final Fantasy VII, and then when 8 came out, was always talking about Final Fantasy VIII. That's what really got me into that series again.
Absolutely.
Because it was so insane, man.
It's funny that you bring up Final Fantasy VIII, because that game was like the in-between, right? So Final Fantasy VII, they're introducing these things, right? Final Fantasy IX, they're well planted. They're following now. They've got a format of like the ability to CGI to gameplay, and it's somewhat decently transitioned between. But Final Fantasy VIII kind of lands in between, where you still have kind of the early level graphics from the first one, but you're moving further along, because now Squall doesn't have a box for a hand. He's got a hand for a hand, but his fingers are glued together. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you have kind of it's like it lands in kind of funny spot. And I remember that trailer, or not trailer, I don't know if you'd call it a trailer back then. That commercial for Final Fantasy VIII back then was what sold me on buying Final Fantasy VIII. So I was like, this is the
You bought 8?
This is it. Yeah, I did.
Oh, I didn't know that, dude.
Yeah, 100%. No, I did. So I had Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII, and I was expecting that 8 was going to be the next 7, right? Like it was
like a continuation, like a sequel?
Well, not even so much a sequel, but just kind of in the same field, and it's not. It's nothing like Final Fantasy VII. Keep in mind,
it's closer to 7 than like a lot of the other ones are. To be honest, like 6, 7, and 8 are the only like, and 13, I guess, are the only like kind of steampunky.
Yeah. I find that people who like Final Fantasy VIII are people who played Final Fantasies before they jumped into 7. They played 6, they played 4, they played 1, whatever. But the idea was that the one Final Fantasy led into the next was not how it worked. It was Final Fantasy 1 is not Final Fantasy 2, is not Final Fantasy 3, and they're all different. They might carry some of the same kind the summons maybe, but they're not the same, right? Where Final Fantasy VII's got the materia, Final Fantasy VIII has the
GFs and the junctioning.
Yeah, junctioning. Thank you. Where Final Fantasy IX's got the abilities, and they're all kind of different, kind of as they go that way. For somebody whose first foray into that was Final Fantasy VII, it was a shock to the system to play Final Fantasy VIII. And then, as the young DG that I was back then, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
and I was like,
most people.
Okay,
but to be fair, most people don't like 8. Like 8 is people that started in 7 and didn't play 13 consider 8 to be the worst one.
See, here's the thing though. I feel that those people, and correct me in the comments or in chat if you're not in this bucket, the people who don't like 8, I feel never went back to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel they're people like me who played it right after Final Fantasy VII, didn't like it, and never returned.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go back to that game, knowing one, how the junction system works, and two, kind of coming back with more of a I don't want to say like an adult, but more of a mature kind of mindset to it. The story of 8 is good.
Yeah, I like 8's story.
Right? Like
there's some stupid like things that are so cliche that they're stupid, but then there's a lot of like really good stuff too.
But I mean, give me a JRPG that doesn't have that. Come on. You know, the thing is that I think those people who don't like it never actually went back and played it again. I feel that if you go back and give it another try, learn about the junction system before you jump in, I feel like you'll go back, you'll be not so much to say that it's going to be your favorite, but simply just to say that you'll
enjoy the experience a lot more than if you didn't.
There's worse Final Fantasy games than 8. Let me tell you. Have you ever played 2?
2 is awful, man. But speaking of which, like 2, when you were saying like you thought it was going to be more of kind of 7. So I grew up. I played Dragon Warrior 1, which is Dragon Quest 1, and then Dragon Warrior 4, which is Dragon Quest 4, and then I played 3. And 3 ties into 1. Like Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 are a trilogy, right? And then Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6 are a trilogy. So I'm going into Final Fantasy, and there's no reason I shouldn't be thinking this at this point. I'm going into Final Fantasy 9. I see a couple ads. I didn't see any trailers. I just saw magazine ads because I'd read PlayStation Magazine and Nintendo Power, and I see Steiner on there, right? And he's in this big silverish, maybe it's blue. I don't know. Maybe it's
a little weird looking too.
Yeah, it's a little weird looking. Maybe it's blue. As soon as I saw Steiner, I was like, "Holy shit, dude! In Final Fantasy IX, you play as the Galbadians." Like it's like I thought it was a sequel or like the same world but like a different set of characters. Like because I didn't know. I thought every Final Fantasy was like the next game in that series, right? But it's not like that at all.
No.
And I remember being so hyped for Final Fantasy IX because I loved 8 when I played it.
Yeah. Because you were ready to continue on.
But I was like, ooh. And then like all that Laguna stuff where you were Galbadians. So I was like, dude, this is going to get into the old Sorceress War with the Galbadians and stuff. Right. And then I turned the game on and it is nothing.
Nothing
like that at all.
Not even a blink of it. Well, and it's funny because of my experience with Final Fantasy VIII, I never picked up 9. I was like,
that
I'm
would
not
make
doing
sense.
that again.
That makes sense. Why?
You think about like at that point, that age point for me, it was like that one game was the one that I got, and I better like it because there's not going to be another game anytime soon. So you take your gamble on this, and there's no there was access to the internet, but it's nothing like it is now. It's not like you're going to go on YouTube, and fire up a video to find somebody playing the game to determine whether or not you like it. There's on the internet is the trailer that was in the magazine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then some walkthroughs and some text stuff.
Even walkthroughs you didn't really have. You just had cheat codes. Like you could go to CC and find like
game?
a cheat.
Sorry.
But that's about it.
Well, and some of them were fake cheats too.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, it was like 50
Finding Mew under the truck and Pokemon,
Or Aerith's
bringing Aerith
Revive.
back.
Yeah, that was the most popular.
So you kind of take your gamble with that. The other thing is that GameFAQs existed, so you could theoretically get the walkthrough, but somebody had to pick that game up and play it enough to even get the details to create the damn.
Yeah, so it wasn't there when the game came out.
That's right. So I mean, I guess you had access to Brady Games manuals. You could theoretically buy one of those, but
if you got the Final Fantasy IX one, it covers up to Gizem Luke's Grotto, and then it's like, check online for more.
Best of luck, buddy. See you later.
Oh, Paul had that, man. It was the worst.
Honestly, it's too funny, and I kicked myself, and I was saying this when I was streaming Final Fantasy IX. I'm kicking myself for not playing that when it launched, because I feel like I would have appreciated it more in that moment than I do now. And I mean, I played through it. It was a great game, but the way that it went from 7 to 8, then from 8 to 9, I wasn't willing to take that chance on 9 anymore. I was like, forget it. I'm not playing this game.
Yeah,
and then the advertisements for it were like, here's your main character. He has a tail. No, I'm not doing that.
That's funny. I guess another thing when you were kind of mentioning, but like if you think about it, like 7 for a lot of people was if 7 was your first, then like 8 could maybe be your second, but 9 is such a throwback to everything before 7 that it's like that would throw you off too. Like that, I think that would be jarring if you played 7 and you liked 7, and then even if you liked 8, maybe you didn't like 8, but if you did, those are kind of similar. But then you go to 9 and it's like high fantasy, like the old games and stuff. You would really be in for a shock, and I could see that turning a lot of people away too.
I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I played it when I did, because back then I would have never understood any even remotely close. There's no possible way I would have finished it back then. It's just impossible. It just would never have happened, right? That's not the kind of gamer that I was. But I feel like I can appreciate it more now because I have that knowledge base. So that existed for me in this newer moment, but back then there wasn't anything in there to sell it for me, and that was a great game. Kind of coming back to my original point, the ad for Final Fantasy VIII was the reason why I picked that game up. It was also the reason why I didn't like it. Which is too funny.
8 was weird because, like you said, it was in between. Like, but the character, like the cutscenes were fucking pristine. Like the cutscenes in 8 looked almost as good or maybe better than the regular gameplay segments of like Final Fantasy X. But then the gameplay segments, it was like they took a shitty jagged polygon person and wrapped a printed picture of what looked like a person around it. So like the coloring and everything looked real, but then everything was like spiky and jagged and like hard to kind of make out.
It was There's a lot to unpack. So we were kind of talking about the newer games and how we're kind of trained to think about gameplay, and I've got 2 other ones that are brand new off my list, and then I can put my phone away because it's my notes here. The first one was No Man's Sky, which I don't know, Dukey, if you're from. Did you pick it up?
Yeah,
you were one of the ones.
Yeah, because I got a funny story for that, but you go ahead.
Okay. I'm really happy that you do that. So before I jump into my other game here, let's stick with this one for a second. That game was touted as, this is going to be the best game of all time. All randomized. Nobody's going to have the same experience. And then what did we get? 6 universes. Depending on what planet you landed on, there was a small randomize of the same monsters.
Animals,
aliens and animals and stuff. There's no space battles. There's no.
It was just fucking Minecraft without any actual building. It was it's just resource management. The game.
You just go from planet to planet until you run out of gas, and good luck. That was a great game.
Yeah,
I hope you enjoyed it,
dude. My aspirations were I was like, dude, I'm gonna get it. I'm telling all my friends to get this, right, before it comes out. I'm like, dude, we're going to meet up. We're going to explore space together. Because it even showed that there'd be, these bad factions and stuff, too, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like you can team up with your friends, do all this shit. One thing that I did love about it, and I wish more games did, was the space to planet transition. Like, you fly through the atmosphere. Like, no games really have that now. That was fucking cool. But I bought that game. So here's the funny story. I bought that game full buying into this hype. Like, Peter Molyneux'd the shit out of me. Like, I was fucking in. This is gonna be the best game ever. It was shit. I played it one night. I think I put like 4 hours into it. I call it the Fallout 3 special. I stayed up all night playing it. Never played it again.
Never touched it again.
And so I played it, and then I was like, wow, literally every planet's exactly the same. Because it takes you about 2 hours to be able to get off the planet, explore your first planet.
Yep.
And then I go to the next planet, and it's kind of pretty much the same. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm just
lucked out.
Yeah, I had bad luck. Let's leave this planet right away. Go to the next one, and it's the same shit. And so I'm like, how am I going to do this? I want my money back. Like, I bought it online on the PlayStation Store. And it's not easy to get your money back on the PlayStation Store.
Especially back then.
Yeah. So here was my story. I'm on my lunch break. I call the PlayStation Store. I have no kids, okay? Let's be fair. Let's be real. I have 2 cats, no kids. My cats at the time were named Tango and Cash, and I call PlayStation Store, and I'm like, hello, I really want to return this game. My son bought it without my permission, blah blah blah, and then I'm basically saying Tango, my son, bought No Man's Sky, and without my permission, he was up playing it all night because if they look back, I was up all night, right? He was on my PlayStation, and they're like, well, since it was purchased without parent consent, because that was when all these mobile games where kids were making purchases and people were like calling them and getting their money back. That's why that idea came to my mind, right? I was like, oh, this could work. And I did this, and then they did give me the thing back, but on the stipulation that I was not able to ever download that game again. Like, I can't purchase it or anything online. And the other thing is you have to have it's either 10% or 14% of the trophies, or they will not do it, which is going to lead me into another fucking bullshit story about a game. And you know all about this once I get to it.
Okay, fair enough.
So anyways, they're like, yeah. They're like, maybe restrict your kid's access, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I changed the password. My kid, he's grounded from the PlayStation.
I beat him into the ground.
Yeah.
Don't
worry. He's dead. I killed him.
No one's ever going to miss him again.
Yeah. So anyways, I got my money back, blah, blah, blah. And that's the end of that story. Now, the other story, which ties right into our theme, is, and I didn't think of it until just now, and you didn't think of it because you didn't have it in your notes.
Fair.
New Gundam Breaker.
Oh man!
Fuck that game!
We started talking about this. You're right. Oh man.
Because the Gundam Breaker 1, masterpiece. 2, masterpiece. 3,
fantastic.
Best fucking Gundam game ever. So what
it.
these are, if you've watched Mike's channel, you know Gunpla. They're like models, like Gundam models. You build them, whatever. You can customize them if you want, whatever. These games, you beat up enemy Gundams that were Gunpla that are scanned, and then you put them into a universe where they can fight. And you beat them up, and they drop parts, and you build your own Gundam and stuff like that.
Customized.
Absolutely amazing games.
Good.
And then they're like, we're going to be releasing New Gundam Breaker.
Gundam Breaker 4 coming to North America.
They didn't even call it 4.
Time.
They just called it New Gundam Breaker. And it was like, this one's going to be the first one released internationally. And I was like, okay, that's awesome, but I'm kind of getting the bad vibes because every time they do that, they release the shittiest fucking Gundam game.
I remember you saying that, and I was like, well, look, as long as they take Breaker 3, even if they just re-release Breaker 3,
that's all they needed to do.
We're good. As long as they just do that, we're good. And so you and I were both, like, the day it launched,
we got it. Yeah.
Instant buy.
Yeah. And I remember us streaming it. I wonder if those streams are still up. We were trying to convince ourselves every hour. We were playing online together or something, and we were trying to convince ourselves that it was good.
No, just we got to give it just a little bit more. We're just getting started.
We're like, this is cool. This is kind of cool. And then like, I think it was like 3 hours in. You're like, we were both like, you know what? This game is fucking shit. This is absolute trash.
So bad.
The whole story, instead of being like this Gundam story, like all the other ones are like this military story. It's like this high school
drama bullshit.
Yeah, what the fuck? Oh.
You said that my Gundam wasn't nice. Let's fight.
Yeah, it was so bad.
It was the worst. It was, look, I am now no longer who I was as a kid. I don't mean to make this sound like I've got money, okay? What I mean to say is, if I wanted to buy a game, I can go and buy a game, right? I have the ability to do that. I'm blessed enough to be able to do that. I returned that game.
I tried, but I had 14% of the trophies because they give them to you in the first chapter of the game.
They sucked you into it so you can't return the game?
Yeah, because I got it digitally.
14%.
Oh my god!
I had a hard copy of the game. I would not have been able to return this. I sent a message to my good friend who works at Best Buy here in town, and I'm like, listen, you got to do me a solid. This game is awful. This game is literally the worst game I have ever played in my entire life, and I have played some really crappy games. This one is hands down the worst. He's like, I will cut you this favor once, but never contact you.
Never he didn't say that. Never talk to me again. This is it.
He didn't say it, but listen, that game was so bad.
I know it wasn't the worst game I ever fucking played,
but
it was really bad. And because if you have 3 games that are all good in a series,
starting from scratch here,
why shouldn't the next one be good? But it was like a completely different game. Oh, it was so bad.
It was so bad that I think Amazon pulled it down from their store by the end of the month.
Yeah,
it didn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, it was fucking awful.
So bad. So bad. All they had to do was translate Gundam Breaker 3 into English and send it out. And guess what? They already did that.
The Hong Kong release.
All we had to do was send that one out, and I would have ate it up like Cheerios.
Same, man.
It would not have been a big deal, but nope. They completely did such a disservice to that game. I don't think I would ever buy another one.
It was so.
I don't think I could ever trust the
not
next
at
game
fucking
ever.
launch. That's for sure.
No.
God,
Yeah,
that one burned. That
it's
was the
funny
biggest burn I ever got when it comes to buying a video game.
That was a bad, and the fact that you got stuck with it, right? It makes you wonder if they put the trophies in that way on purpose.
I know.
Welcome to the game. 14%.
It's like, look, guys, we're gonna lose a lot of money if people are able to return all this shit. We got to put all those trophies early game.
But here's the thing, okay? And I'm gonna lead into my absolute most newest example, and that's Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, Cyberpunk 2077. They launched in December, and they flat out lied because they're showing that it's the game will run on everything from Xbox One, PS4. All the way up through the newest ones and then into PC gaming. Well, the only gameplay footage they're showing is from PC. And from the PC, the most high-powered thing. So then you look at any gameplay from the Xbox One or from PS4, and it might as well be like PS1 footage. It's blocky. It takes forever to load.
People's dicks are hanging out everywhere.
And it's so bad that CD Projekt Red came out and they were like, look, we screwed up. Here, take your money back. And it was probably the first massive refund thing I've seen in a long time. I can't even tell you the last time.
I think No Man's Sky was the last time before
It probably was because it was so unbelievably deceptive on its advertisement. Cyberpunk 2077, great game if you have something to play it on. But if you're playing it on Xbox One or PS4, it was being returned by like the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
It was so bad, right? Unbelievable. And it's funny that it takes something like that in order to get that level of a refund. Because for you with Gundam Breaker, they were just like, look, man, you played 14%. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Best of luck. Next time, wait. Right?
The thing that pissed most people off with Cyberpunk was it was supposed to come out like way earlier, and it was only supposed to be it was only supposed to be a PS4 and Xbox One game. So and these are the consoles you literally can barely play the fucking game on. You know, like what the fuck?
Yeah, from what I understand, it literally it's so bad that you can't even play it. That's what I understand. It's literally that bad.
That's awful, man.
And Finney's in chat here. He's basically saying that the same thing. He said that's why we were talking about Gundam Breaker. He said that's why I held back. He holds back from buying games on release day because of the big hype these days, the amount of patching, everything. Yeah, and that was what I was going to follow up with Cyberpunk and all these other games. Like and Finney said, and I was going to point this out with No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is actually a pretty decent game.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, it's really good
Years
now.
later, patches later, all these hot fixes and updates later, now it's actually somewhat good, right? It's in line with what they were expecting. The last one that's on my list is Pokemon Go. Did you ever see the advertisement for Pokemon Go?
I don't know if I did, to be honest.
You need to go and check it out. Go onto YouTube sometime. Check out this advertisement for it because you get these people. This guy laces up his skates and he runs, or his skates. He laces up his shoes. It's on ice now. Laces up his shoes, runs outside, meets up with his friends. They're like throwing Pokeballs. They're catching Pokemon. They're fighting with each other, and then you download the game back in launch. Okay. One, if the game even opened.
Yeah, at the start it was really bad.
Massive problems at launch. Two, if it was basically the flicking simulator, right?
Yeah, that's all it was. Here's that was the whole game.
Right here. That's it. And then three, when you do the flicking simulator and then the Pokeball lands, sometimes it just would time out and you just lose the Pokeball.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on top of all of that, the variety was simple. It was a Pidgey or it was a Rattata. And that's it. That's all you could catch.
Yeah, that's true. You might, if you're lucky, you'd get a Caterpie.
The advertisement has everyone running together to take down Mewtwo.
Oh, yeah, right? I did see that one then. Yeah. They're all in like Times Square or something, right?
Yeah. Mewtwo showed up once at the beginning as an event.
In some place where nobody lived.
New York.
Yeah.
No, it was in New York.
Oh, was it?
You had to go there. You had to go to New York in order to do it, right? So, and then over time, the patches, the updates, the hot fixes, they add in trading, they add in fighting, they add in gyms. So the gyms were always
there, yeah.
Not like it is now, where it's like, like a raid, like all of these other kinds of pieces of it. And it's funny because you go and watch that ad, and it's like, this is how it should have been, and it's. The game was already hyped. They didn't need to throw that advertisement out there already, but man.
I remember one thing about Pokemon Go that I'll always remember. I live in the number one crime per capita city in Canada. And I remember the cleanest this city has ever been was the first 2 weeks after Pokemon Go came out. Because everybody was walking around town. It was like 2 in the morning, and there were people like me, a couple guys I worked with, and like a bunch of friends walking around the city. There was no crime for like 2 weeks in my city because people were everywhere walking around catching Pokemon. You'd run into people. Yeah, you'd run into people that you knew from somewhere. You'd be like, "Oh, there's a Zapdos over down by the church or whatever." Like, it was the weirdest experience because there was people walking around town all night in the number one crime per capita city in Canada.
It's too funny, and I mean, and again, like we were saying, that it's a good game, right? But what they were advertising didn't match. It didn't match. It wasn't the same thing. I'm trying to think of some of the other games too, and I'm coming back to like box art on the NES and the SNES, right? Because like, I mean, if you go even further back from the PS1, it wasn't really mainstream yet.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo era. I don't mean to say Super Nintendo specifically, but Super Nintendo Genesis era. Started coming into like the commercials.
Mm-hmm.
The
only ones you'd have commercials for NES was like Zelda, maybe a Mario. That's about it.
Yeah,
on the NES.
not a lot. The Power Glove, right?
Yeah.
The movie The Wizard, which was giant Super Mario 3.
Yeah, that was weird.
but I mean, in all seriousness, when you wanted to find out about a game, you basically had to pick the box up and look at the back of it.
Yeah, or
That was your hope.
or
You look at the
Nintendo
front of the
Power,
box and read the back of it
whose
before you
goal was
go
to
and make
sell
it.
you games, so they would just
That's
say,
right.
like, I think there was like an AVGN video where he's like going, there's the Nintendo Power one, and
Yeah.
he's like it's like Back to the Future in the Nintendo Power. He's like, oh,
Right.
it says here it has that distinct LJN style, because they just made all these shitty games, but Nintendo Power doesn't want to tell you the game shit because you won't buy it, right? And then
That's
they
right.
won't make
Yeah.
money. God damn, dude. Nintendo Power would just shovel you shit, man.
It was hard. It was hard to trust anything, right?
GamePro was
the
all you
things
could
never
really
got
trust,
away.
I think, because it was
No,
third party.
not even. It was somewhat impartial, I guess. But I mean, the thing is that the whole concept is flawed because they'll tell you to buy whatever the people pay them to do, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They'll do a review, but I feel like back then and including now,
I
don't
think
even
now
mean
is
to say
worse
back
than
then,
ever.
but now is worse than ever. Where they
Yeah.
basically are like, here's a big bag of money. If you could do me a solid and just tell them that this game is great, that would be awesome. But now we
Mhm.
get it kind of it's kind of guerrilla marketing, right? You get it in the
Yeah.
form of YouTube videos and of influencers. You see a person on Twitch streaming a game you never heard of, and then you come to find out that the developer actually paid the money to play it,
Yeah.
and maybe paid them a little bit more money to play it and say that it was good, right?
Or
Not to say that they're all that way,
yeah.
but that exists out there, right?
Or all of a sudden your review copies get cut off, right?
Yeah.
You get sent a review copy for the game so you can review it. You say the game's not very good. Guess you're not
And
getting
I
any
guess
more
you're not-
review copies.
You won't be reviewing this one
Yeah.
anymore. And I mean, and the thing is, I have the ability to say that I wouldn't do that because I'm not in a state. I'm not in a realm of privilege enough to get review copies of
Mhm.
stuff. I feel like I wouldn't sell out to the man. But then again, if he was like, hey, here's $15,000.
Oh, 15,000? Dude, Super Mario 64 is indeed the best game of all time for $15,000.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's funny because
Just selling out live on stream, no big deal.
yeah, absolutely. It's like, sorry. Yes, yeah, Superman 64. Really? Okay.
15,000?
15 grand?
Grand.
All $15,000? I'm gonna get all of it. Okay, all right. And what do I get? I don't know if I could say it's good. 20? Okay. All right. Okay, bye.
Game of the year.
Game of the year. Here it is. And then I show it like the Batman Arkham Asylum. It'll just be nothing but big text over top of the video. It's funny because we're currently showing this on Twitch. We're currently showing this on YouTube. And that is where I feel the vast majority of
Honest reviews.
well, there's a large amount. Honestly, the lion's share of videos on YouTube and people on Twitch are doing it from an honest perspective.
Mhm.
But the few that are sprinkled in typically are the loudest, most visible
Yeah.
voice, and it's really hard to tell the difference. Do you ever? So the thing that bothers me and what I was originally thinking of when we were talking about this was the advertisements for mobile games.
Oh.
And how bad the advertisements for
And
mobile games
the
are.
guys that are getting paid the 20 grand to tell you these games are fucking not diarrhea.
So you have so even outside of that, right? Have you ever come across those ones where it's like you have to solve this puzzle? You're a guy and you solve this puzzle.
Yeah, and that's not even ever in the game, apparently. It's like pull on the key so that the gold goes to the guy or something.
So that falls in there, but then you check out the actual mobile game and it's like a RTS. It's like a castle defense game.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the video at all.
I remember I saw an ad on
You solved this?
I remember I saw an ad on Facebook, and the ad was literally, "This is the game that all those other ads show you that the game is." And
Somebody made a game out of the ad.
yeah, and everybody was like downloading. All the comments were just fucking everybody being like, "It's true, it's actually the game."
Oh man, just the worst, right? Like
Yeah.
absolutely. But I don't know. It's something that at least where we're at now, it's really easy to disprove something. If someone's being dishonest or somebody's misleading with what they're actually showing you, it doesn't take long to find out that that's kind of a load of BS.
Shit, yeah.
And Finney's right, and you kind of echoed it as well. And we talked about this on launch day stuff. I am no longer a buy things day one.
Yeah, it's got to be something real big that I know I'm gonna like no matter what.
And even then, I'm still approaching it with caution, right? Like for the most part, I'm waiting. Typically, all it takes is a couple days. If we would have waited one day for Gundam Breaker,
yep, that's all it would have taken. Because it was a worldwide, international release too, and all the Japanese fans were ripping them a fucking new one too.
Everyone hated it. Like it wasn't even like some people were like, "This game's good." Not even like the guy who got the 15 grand. He was like, "You know what? I can't tell people."
I have a story about that. There's a guy on Twitch. His name was Time Lord something. And that's what he does. He streams Gundam games and stuff.
Okay.
And so he definitely gets review copies and stuff. And he was trying to tell me this game was good. And I was like, no. Dude, you're fucking lying to yourself more than you're lying to me. Like, you're lying to every single person in this fucking room right now. And yourself.
I find it so hard to believe that someone could play that and say that. I couldn't. We tried, and I hope you do still have that video somewhere.
Yeah, I want to find it and just edit it up, like all our parts where it's the slow decline.
You can hear the hope just slowly die over time. Like, no, just like, maybe we just got to level up a little bit more.
Yeah,
we'll unlock something, and it's not going to be so bad. And then we get into a battle. It's like, well, why isn't this button doing anything? Maybe you accidentally selected something.
Yeah.
No, the button doesn't do anything because the game sucks.
Yeah.
That's why it doesn't do anything.
It was shit.
I can't believe I blocked that out of my memory. I was gonna say I can't believe I forgot that, but I think I willfully forgot that.
Yeah, same. Until you brought up No Man's Sky and the issues with that, I totally forgot about it.
Unbelievable. That's just too funny.
But that guy, the Time Lord dude on Twitch, he banned me from his channel. He ended up banning me. Yeah, because I was like...
He banned you because you're like, no, you're wrong.
Yeah, and like, there's games that I don't like because that's not my style. Like, I'll shit talk Super Mario 64 all day long. But if you like 3D platformers, maybe it's a good game. I don't know. I don't like them, really, and I don't like Mario, so it's not for me. But this game was, no matter what, a fucking terrible game. Yeah. And he was like, it's different. I can appreciate it. If you wanted, his big excuse was, if you wanted to play Gundam Breaker 2 and 3 again, you'd play Gundam Breaker 2 and 3. Why would you want a new game? It's like, what? No. Come on, man. You're lying to yourself more than you're lying to all of us.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
No, I do believe that you're wrong. I'm looking at, I just quickly typed in New Gundam Breaker into the Amazon.
For reviews?
The number one review, this June 22nd, 2018. So this would have come out pretty much right around the launch. It says, for the love of Gundam, do not buy this game. Different developer, different engine. Everything good about Gundam Breaker 3 was specifically removed. I'm a huge Gundam fan. I got my hands on plenty of games, great games, and plenty that were meh. But this game is soulless, god-awful, and so many steps back that it practically devolved into primordial ooze.
Yeah, that's very accurate. That is incredibly accurate.
It's like, here's the pros. I have to read some of this. This is ridiculous. Here's the pros. It's got chaotic 3 versus 3 brawls with no sense, strategy, or reason. A weak sauce dating simulator, which affects the branching story paths. More mobile suits than Gundam Breaker 3, eventually, through DLC. Equip new parts during combat. Insane lag during combat.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the lag, dude.
Periodic freezes in combat in the UI, especially when using the parts equip function.
Yeah, you couldn't even, like, equip the parts. You had to, like, take them back to, like, a locker.
Yes, you did. The worst combat system I've seen in a game since Oni for PS2. The worst Gundam game possibly ever.
I think it is.
And there's a list of probably 20 items that he's got listed here as things you lose. Right? No co-op for story. Just the brawl garbage. You lose the ability to aim guns.
Yeah, that's what the worst part was. You're just going around and the camera's just kind of doing whatever. You can't even look where you're shooting or what's shooting at you.
You lose any sort of enjoyment and possibly your soul. So
That's
yeah, and it's just one after the next, after the next,
oh,
after
it
the
was
next,
bad.
after the next. So bad, unbelievably bad. Right now, so the thing is, like, you can usually go onto Amazon, you see the old games they don't really sell anymore. Right now, there's 13 in stock. Okay, $17.
I hope they
And I don't
never.
think I would. I
I
don't
don't
even think
think.
I would pay 4.
No, God, no. I wouldn't.
I
You couldn't
think I
pay
think if I
me.
got a
You
I
couldn't
think if
pay
I got
me
a
to
free
play
copy,
it.
I think if I got a free copy, I don't think I would even touch it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Um,
Gundam Breaker 3 is
amazing game.
$70.
Really? That's a fucking good game, though.
It's so good. That's the one that's got the English subtitles. So, anyway,
But my last story, anyways, with the whole video game misconceptions. I remember, I'm a huge Dragon Quest fan. I remember when Dragon Quest 11 it showed that trailer, and you had the new main character, and he wears like kind of like a purple cloak, and he's like riding the horse or whatever. And I just remember them saying it's gonna tie in with the original trilogy, perhaps just the original game.
okay.
And I remember I had this fucking huge fan theory in my head based
Right.
based off nothing but this like 15-minute trailer of just gameplay of him just riding his horse through the fields. And I was like, dude, you're playing as a young dragon lord before
Oh,
that's what I thought the whole game was going to be. And so
Right.
I was beyond
like a
hyped.
prequel almost.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, this is the Dragon Lord, because the Dragon Lord, I have the figure right up there. He's got that purple cloak on. It's like all that, and I was like, this is going to be the story of how he becomes the Dragon Lord. And it was not that at all. But
No.
it was like I had this huge story, and I don't know. It's just cool, like coming up with stuff like that. Like when you're looking forward to a game, you kind of you come up with some kind of idea of what this game's gonna be about, and it's almost always wrong. But I don't know. It's just kind of neat what we come up with.
Mass Effect 3. I mean, that's exactly it. It's and it's not to make it sound like a letdown or anything like that.
No,
right? Like,
it's my favorite game of all time. Greatest game of all time.
If anything, you're going to do that if you're this, if you're a massive fan in this series, then you have the ability to kind of start connecting dots where the dots aren't actually meant to be connected.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how you get, like, you have people write fan fiction or stories in the universe that kind of are really, really good. The Star Wars is filled with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You have people who write stories that have nothing to do with original Star Wars, which is like phenomenal. The stories are absolutely phenomenal. The non-canon stories still better than 7, 8, 9.
But you even had like people when 7, 8, 9 were coming out. You had people being like, "Okay, they're gonna draw from this comic.
Yeah.
This is gonna tie into this." So it's not that they're even fan fictioning. They're just they're just tying it to things that could exist, right?
It's always I'm thinking of 7, 8, 9, and it's basically like, look, I know that was bad, but listen to me, okay? I think I've plotted the points. I think I've figured out what they're going for. So the next one won't be bad. This one's not great, but the next one they're probably going to do this, and then that episode is like nothing like this one. It's like, fuck.
Yeah. It's like the Sonic cycle. Like for years they called it the Sonic cycle. Every time a new Sonic game was released, every Sonic fan got so fucking hyped. And then they'd show footage, and it was like, oh my god, this is going to be the best one. And then it's like they show a little bit of gameplay, and you're like, all right, they're going back. It's going to be like the old ones. And then they release it, and it's shit. And then they show another trailer for the next game, and it's the Sonic cycle, man. That's what Star Wars was in for like the last since I was a fucking teenager.
There's gonna be a new Sonic game. It's gonna be really great. It's gonna introduce a new character. Shadow has guns.
Damn. And then they show the Sonic 06 trailer, and like 3 years later, and you're like, oh, that looks fucking good. Like, it's just the Sonic cycle, man. That's what Star Wars is stuck in right now.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Oh, man. Just too funny.
But I guess speaking of Star Wars, now would be the time to delve into the Mandalorian a little bit, because was it last stream or 2 streams ago we were talking about Star Wars and stuff like that?
Yeah, we It was a couple streams ago. I can't remember. Episode 5, I think.
And you were doing your damnedest to not fucking ruin it for me, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, and for what it's worth, I still think we shouldn't throw down any spoilers for Mandalorian, because it's so good. It is such a good series. I don't know if you can throw. I don't want to throw spoilers. I got people in chat saying please no spoilers.
Oh, we got it. We got it.
No, we got it.
This is the Mandalorian podcast. So if you've never seen the Mandalorian, maybe turn the volume down a little bit.
Maybe it's time to mute. mute on the tab.
Yeah, just mute the tab. Just mute the tab. How fucking good was that ending?
Here's the thing.
I had it spoiled for me, and it was still fucking good.
I'm so sad that you had that spoiled for you. Mandalorian season 1 and season 2, if you cut that into 3 movies, is better than 7, 8, and 9. Changed my mind.
Oh, absolutely.
You just can't. Like, there's just no comparison. They might as well have just said this is the continuation from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the moment for you to. I'm being serious here.
Yeah,
okay?
you guys are gonna want to mute if you haven't seen it.
So we get an idea where we are in the timeline, right? We have a general idea kind of where we are basically, but at no point until really the second season do you actually understand how far along the storyline are we between episode 6 and episode 7,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everyone knew this is where we landed.
I honestly, for the longest time, thought it was gonna be in the First Order stuff.
Yeah,
that's where I thought it was gonna be. Like, judging from what I saw through most of season 1, because I don't think I'd even finished the first season when me and you were talking last. So
yeah. So so you've got that going on, but I mean that ending, like the last 10 minutes. And you've got, look, some people have to find things to hate, and I understand. So you've got some people who are like saying, the CGI in that final scene was really poorly done.
It wasn't.
And I'm like,
but...
okay, listen, here's the thing. You resurrected somebody from basically the dead.
Yeah.
Without getting into any very specific details, I don't think that's enough reason to hate. I think the CGI there was better than what they threw in 9 with the Emperor.
Yeah.
I truly and honestly think that the end of the Mandalorian season 2 was better than the ending of episode 9 and what you had going on in there with the CGI in the movie. I really do, because the thing is, like, okay, yeah, it doesn't look perfect.
But it's never. I don't think it'll
looks pretty damn close.
Yeah. It was good. It was good.
I enjoyed it.
The whole like it had that Star Wars feel while also having the Star Wars grit that the first 2 movies really, even the first 3, like what 4, 5, and 6, whatever the fuck you want to call them.
Absolutely.
It had that grit, which all the others after that, other than sometimes maybe 7, maybe 8, were missing. I think they didn't have that. This was the grunts. I'll always refer to this as, especially if you're a Gundam fan. Gundam is amazing. I love Gundam. Zeta Gundam is my favorite, but 8th Mobile Suit Team has that grit. It's like all of the main story of Gundam, the main character following story, are like these people that are like ace pilots, special skills. These guys are amazing. They're on the front lines. But 8th Mobile Suit is like a side story. It happens during the same war. But these are the fucking ground troops. These are the fucking boots on the ground. And that's kind of what The Mandalorian felt like to me. It was like 8th Mobile Suit Team in the Star Wars universe.
I hope that Hollywood understands that we don't need a Star Wars movie with Jedi.
Yeah.
I don't need to have a Jedi and a lightsaber in there.
No, you don't need it at all.
It's great if they're in there, but you don't have to shoehorn that in just to have an appearance in there.
Yeah.
Right? One of the biggest things, one of the absolute biggest things that I loved about and I love that we're talking about this on this episode, because I'm coming back into the misconceptions and building something up that's not there. I thought episode 7 was going to surround a defect stormtrooper. I thought the movie was
Yeah,
going to surround.
I thought Finn was gonna be. That's kind of how they build it. Like Finn was gonna be this stormtrooper was gonna be a fucking jet. That would have been better. I think
such a great story. Have nothing to do with the other stuff, with the way that they went, because I think they got cold feet at the end, and they're like, whoa. We're going way too far off course here. We need to bring it back to what people liked about episodes 4, 5, and 6, because that's what they want. No, we don't. I don't want episodes 4, 5, and 6. I want episode 7 to be its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that if it was like
New Gundam Breaker was?
And we come to Sonic Circle right there.
Sonic Circle.
The thing is that we're at a point in time where the stormtroopers are no longer clones. The stormtroopers are a fleet of army.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a guy who's like, I don't want to be a stormtrooper anymore, and his story should have been 7, 8, and 9.
Mm-hmm. That would have been. That's what everybody thought it was.
7, you have the origin in 7, the ability to build it up in 8, and the conclusion to it in 9. Mm-hmm. That's all it had to do. Instead, we had what? What does Finn do after he's found immediately? He goes to the casino.
Yeah.
He goes, and they do nothing. I don't
remember because it's so
and then he disappears. Like he becomes such an insignificant character, and it is such a disservice to that character.
It is.
It would have been amazing, right? You have between and oh man, I'm forgetting the name of Poe Dameron.
I liked him a lot, but he had like 15 minutes of screen time throughout all 3 movies.
It should have surrounded. Rey is a solid character too, but I feel that they shoeboxed her character arc so heavy in the way that the story went that there was no choice other than to do what they did, and then the ending of 9 just completely destroyed Rey for me.
Yeah,
right.
She's shit now.
Between like Finn and Poe would have been a fantastic. You've got the Han Solo, and you've got this like
new original character.
He's an original character. This hasn't existed up to this point, right?
Yep.
Save the fact too that you've got a black actor playing a primary role in a Star Wars movie that also hasn't existed.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's just I gotta tell you, I was so disappointed to find out that they basically just shelved his character. Yeah. And they just pushed forward with this milquetoast, boring kind of thing. So that's why I'm saying, with the way that they did Mandalorian, and the reason why I like it so much is because they took a chance.
Yeah.
Right. And that gamble might not have paid off, but it paid off by a boatload.
It was
simply for the fact that it was something new.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was new, original, still stayed within the universe. It didn't.
And they still have those cameos, right?
Yeah.
They still have those characters that come in, and there's some kind of reference to the other one, but you don't have to have Darth Vader in this.
Yeah.
You don't have to have Luke Skywalker.
Space Obama instead.
Right?
I always called him. He kind of looks like Obama. Awesome. I liked him.
I really enjoyed him as a bad guy, and he's not gone yet either. So I mean, who knows what's going to happen at this point, right?
Yeah.
There's so.
Are they doing a season 3 or that's it for that one?
Yeah, three's already approved.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that was the end.
No.
Now I'm excited because I was sad at that ending. I was sad. Yeah, I loved it, but I was sad. I was like, he's gone. I just want them to be back together again.
Here's the thing is so this has opened up a door that could go very good or very bad. So you've got the Mandalorian season 3 was approved. I think even season 4 might have been approved too, if I'm not mistaken.
Holy shit!
But you also have other shows coming up.
Book of Boba Fett.
The Book of Boba Fett. You've got the Obi-Wan one that's coming.
Oh, I forgot about that
one. There's a boatload. There's like 6 different series.
I just hope they don't Marvel the crap out of it, because I got burnt out after the first Avengers movie and haven't seen a fucking superhero movie since.
See, the thing is that I'm all in on series like this as long as they're not using the machine to create them, right? Mm-hmm. You want to know why The Mandalorian was good? Because Jon Favreau gives a shit.
Yeah.
That guy actually cares about the movies that he creates. You can see it in everything that he does.
Yeah.
Right? So you just put some no-name stuff on there, slap the Star Wars name on it, we're back to having episode 7, 8, 9 again. And that's kind of where I was coming back to from the previous conversation. Yeah. Is that if you can't just put this into a generator and create Star Wars out of like the most common pieces of Star Wars universe and come out of it. Rogue One, probably one of my favorite
that was the best
Star Wars
one
movies of all time.
since fucking Return of the Jedi until maybe episode 8.
It was so good, and guess what? Almost nothing for Jedi.
Yeah, was there even one?
Practically nothing.
You had Darth Vader just killing shit at the end. But that's all you need. That's perfect.
That's what I'm talking about.
Just like you had the character at the end of Mandalorian. That's all you need. Is
that's
that
what I'm talking about.
One little cameo, and you're gonna get the biggest pop out of that one fucking 15-minute cameo. Then you did this whole movie of have all these old characters that are just rehashing old lines. I also want to reconfirm that I like the first fucking Avengers movie, but they just shit out like 80 of them. And it's like, I don't want to watch that again and again and again. You can't have fucking 15 superhero movies come out in a year and expect me to give a fuck. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Here's the downside of doing that exact thing. You're gonna spit out 8-10 movies. It's really easy to tell which ones are bad.
Yeah.
It's really easy to tell the good ones, and it's really easy to tell the bad ones. But the thing is, the benefit, I think that Marvel kind of hit their stride in that they kind of didn't release any bad movies. You had Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2.
I saw the first one.
The new Thor movie was fantastic. You bring in the Spider-Man, it was good.
Never seen Spider-Man.
Don't watch Thor 1 and 2. You can watch if you want as part of the story, but Thor 3, fantastic. Absolutely.
Is that the 80s vibe neon colored one? Everything's like it's like Ragnarok or something. I don't know.
Ragnarok, yep. It was good. It was good because they included Planet Hulk in there.
Oh, that's cool.
As part of it. Plus you had
but there's too much. It was so oversaturated. It felt like everything was like on a set schedule and they were just shitting them out because they had to. Like that's the vibe I got. And I never watched any of them. So my opinion on the actual movies is fucking nothing. I can't tell you.
You're saying it's more of the principle of the thing that I've got 8 movies you're going to make me watch.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch them.
The thing is that because they're storyline based, if you miss one of those, you're behind.
Yes, just like that's why.
The next one.
Here's the thing, okay? So Marvel had all these fucking movies come out, like, and I'm talking before the Avengers, because this is when I was still on board. You had, I think, Iron Man was the first real successful one, right? Because you had Spider-Man, but that was Sony, and that was way long time ago.
Oh yeah.
You had Iron Man, who I don't even really like, but it was very successful. You had Iron Man 2, and then that's when Captain America came out. That was really fucking good. Captain America was good.
Yep.
And then you kind of had all these, like, you had maybe like 3 or 4, and then they're like, the Avengers, motherfucker, right? Yep. And then I was like, dude, I am on board for this. This is the Avengers. But then the same thing that killed comics is the same thing they did. They had it so you have to watch every single one. You have to, every time there's a crossover event in comics, you don't know what the fuck's going on unless you're reading Spider-Man, you're reading X-Men, you're reading Fantastic Four, you're reading fucking Spider-Woman, you're reading fucking Canary Man, like none of these, half of these you would never read.
Comic books that you would never have picked up otherwise.
Yes, and that's exactly what they ended up doing with the movies, and that's why I don't watch them, and I haven't. I watched more DC ones, and I hate the DC movies. But I liked Aquaman, and I liked Shazam. Was it Shazam or was it called Captain Marvel?
No, there was Shazam.
Yeah, those I really liked those, and I'm looking forward to the next Shazam. But I am not gonna watch any fucking superhero movies anymore.
Yeah, I get such a limited amount of time to actually watch movies and TV anyways. So I have to be like pinpoint sharpshooter on shows. If I take a gamble on a show and it's no good, that's time wasted.
Yep.
And I get such little time that I just basically don't. I will say though, the lion's share of the Marvel movies, save for maybe a small handful, I actually really liked. Right, the first couple Thor movies were not my cup of tea. The third one they really nailed it because they had Chris Hemsworth who was very good at playing Thor, and the version of Thor that they played in 3 was not the verily and the thou shalt type of Thor. It was more the kind of Guardians of the Galaxy level Thor.
Okay.
Right, and so you've got that right. Guardians of the Galaxy is probably my favorites out of the Marvel movies, simply because I quite enjoy Star-Lord as a character. I really dig Star-Lord, and so Guardians Guardians of the Galaxy I really enjoy. But to be perfectly honest, Doctor Strange was also fantastic.
Never saw it.
It was good. A lot of those last ones were really good.
I just can't do it, man. It's just there's too much of an investment they're asking from you, and
that is a
it's
lot. That's
stupid
a lot
for them
time.
to do that. And now you look, and I never watch TV. We do have cable, but I never watch it. But after I ate lunch, I laid on the couch because I ate way too goddamn much, and I had to lay down to stretch this all out. And there's this commercial, and it's like similar to James Bond, and it's like all these explosions, and there's like all this person talking and stuff, and it's like DC Pennyworth. I'm like, who the fuck is Pennyworth?
Oh,
Isn't that fucking Batman's
Alfred.
butler?
It's Alfred.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on with these comic book shows? How fucking garbage is it that you have a fucking action-packed thriller TV show based off fucking Albert, the fucking 90-year-old butler from fucking Batman? Like, that's so stupid. This is where comic book movies and TV shows have gone for me. Like,
Yeah.
fuck that. Daredevil was good, but I didn't even watch the second season.
You're better off. The second season. No, wait, hold on. Seasons 1 and 2 of Daredevil were good. I think they released a third, and I never watched that.
Oh yeah, I
never
didn't
really
watch
got
the
behind
second.
Punisher, amazing. Did
Which
you watch
one?
Punisher?
They've fucking rebooted
Netflix
Punisher
series.
like 80 times.
Don't worry about anything other than the John Bernthal season 1 and season 2 of the Punisher.
Oh, never seen him. I saw the
No one
Dolph
watched
Lundgren 1980s movie. That was
Shut
good. I
down
liked
this
it as a
podcast
kid.
right now, and you go watch it. No, listen.
I'm not gonna watch
it. Punisher is probably one of my favorite Marvel characters of all time. Like I dig Punisher because Punisher gets to be the guy that I want to be. Not hold on. That came out the wrong
A
way.
mass murderer?
What I mean to say is that he basically is the idea of like the justice system doesn't work, so I'm just taking care of business and I'm going to clean the garbage out of the streets, right? I love that character arc because it is so like just dark and like just this like there's no gray area. It's right or it's wrong, and that's it. End of story. Nothing else to it. And the Netflix series, John Bernthal nailed it, like 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, nailed it. He is the Punisher. You have to. If you haven't, Duke, I swear you absolutely have to see it because it is that good. I would say, you know what? I would say don't watch anything else. Don't watch any of these other Marvel movies or anything like that. Just watch that one series. It is it's so good.
I can't. I remember I've seen so many Punisher movies. I watched the Dolph Lundgren one when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved that one when I was a kid. But I was a huge Dolph Lundgren fan because I loved Rocky IV.
Fair.
And then they released, was it like the mid 2000s? They released
a mid
2 or
2000s
3 movies, and I watched all of them. They were like okay.
Yeah, the name of the actor, Thomas Jane. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I don't know any of them.
The movies weren't great, and then John Travolta was the bad
Yeah,
guy,
I remember that
right?
one. Yeah.
And then they did Punisher Warzone, which was way better than the Thomas Jane one, but it still wasn't that good. But dude, the series is a Ferrari where the movies are like Ford Fiestas. I'm telling you, it is so good.
Maybe someday. I don't know.
You should. I'll see if I can find some clips or something. For
I don't watch TV, so that's the other thing. Like it took me like what, almost a month. Like when did we record our last podcast?
Yeah,
that was the last time.
It was well before Christmas.
Yeah, that's how long it took me to watch The Mandalorian, the second season only. That's like 8 episodes.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm saying that I liked the Punisher enough to say that I would put it in league with the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's how much I liked it.
I can't.
And it's simply because John Bernthal, he is to the Punisher as Robert Downey Jr. is to Tony Stark.
Right.
That's how good he plays Frank Castle. Like he nails that part. He is so good. And if they reboot that series and they don't put John Bernthal in that series, I probably won't watch it.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's anybody else out there who could play the character that well. He did that good.
You know who nailed
I'm just that good.
the guy that played the Mandalorian? That guy did so well.
Yes.
Hey?
Holy so that
is he just some rando or like? Because I don't know most of these. I don't know like any of these actors you're mentioning.
Yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff, but if you didn't, but he was in the Game of Thrones. He played the one character in that.
Yeah, I thought he was just some nobody, and I was like, dude, they really got a fucking good guy.
Oh yeah, he is very very good actually. He's in this movie my kids watch about these superheroes. It's like this kids show on Netflix that I think is a sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Oh, okay. And he's in
I just saw him and I was like, "Hey, it's Mando!"
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I didn't know who he was or anything. Yeah. The other thing is, one guy I always thought would play a good Frank Castle is the guy from that one Purge movie. Remember the Purge? Okay. The one where they're oh, you never seen them?
I've watched a couple.
The one where they're like trapped out in it, and there's that the one guy that's like the tough guy kind of archetype that's with the main characters. Okay. I thought he would always play like a good Frank Castle. I always thought, because that's kind of what he was portraying in that movie, was kind of almost like a Frank Castle type.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know who you're talking about, but I'll tell you he was not as good as John.
That's funny. Maybe that's who it is. Maybe it's the same guy. I don't know.
Maybe it's the same guy. Because I don't know who that guy is. But if it's not, then no.
But anyways, I think that's about it. Unless you had anything to
I think that's kind of the good point to wrap up here. Finney muted us here because he didn't want to be spoiled.
Oh, he didn't finish it? Okay.
Yeah, he's not done season 2. So I'm glad that we didn't really drop any like full
huge. Yeah.
But you know what? I think just to kind of close it off, if I want to know, we want to know about like have you ever been deceived by the gaming industry or by a Twitch streamer or by YouTube, saying that a game was better than it actually was, or have you built up a game in your mind to be something that it actually ended up not being? Not to say that the game was bad, but it ended up being different. We want to know about it. Throw it into the comments of the video. And usually the podcast goes up on Wednesdays, right?
Yeah, I should be able to get out this Wednesday because I'm not super, super busy this week. But so we should see you fine fucks on Wednesday. Thanks a lot for coming out, and we hope to see you next time. You can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dukey03.
And I'm at twitch.tv/DGonline.
See you guys next time.
Have a good one. Take care.